All right, my audience. There's 1 and 2 and 3. I have to record the audience to prove that people are real. All right. It's not every day that somebody asks you for fun if you'd like to be poked thousands of times over and over. But thousands of people do this every day. That's right, we're talking about tattoos here. The definition of a tattoo is actually the act or practice of marking the skin with patterns, pictures, etc. by making punctures in it and inserting pigments into the skin. So why do people do this? I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons, starting with the history of that tattoo, leading up until today, and why people get tattoos today. To start you off with a quote, tattoos date back to over 5,000 years ago, and the history is as diverse as the people who wear them today. And that was from Design Boom, which is a website dedicated to the art of tattooing. And that one quote is kind of summing up the main point of my speech today, talking that tattoos have been here for thousands of years for different reasons, and to not judge people by the tattoos they get, because they get them for different reasons. To start with the Bronze Age, a man was actually found preserved in ice, and his body had over 57 tattoos, is what they found, and they were placed strategically along the body in places like the joints at the arms and the knees and the elbows, and they were all perfectly lined up to each other, and they found that his tattoos were there for therapeutic reasons. Another culture that was found between Russia and China had magical pictures all over their body, and they found that the pictures on their bodies actually reflected the status of the people. So the bigger and the better, the more important they were in society. The ancient Egyptians had tattoos that they found to be restricted by sex. The women were allowed to have certain kinds of tattoos, and the men were allowed to have certain kinds of tattoos, and the tattoos used on their bodies were used in rituals that they did. Other groups have used this for religious purposes. Some groups thought that their powers and their life forces were brought out through their tattoos, so they would get tattoos depicting the different powers that they thought that they possessed to other people to show them. And another group, like the Samoans, passed on their traditions this way. They marked different stories and stories of their ancestors on their body, so that it was passed down from generation to generation so they wouldn't lose it. It was tattooed on their skin. Another place in New Zealand, they prided themselves on the art of carving skin, so it was thought to be a high thing if you were to get a tattoo. It was the most prized way to show different things was by getting a tattoo on your skin. And then in India, tattoos were a sign of strength, and they were only allowed to be given out by monks. And monks weren't allowed to tattoo women because women were thought to already be as strong as humanly possible. Just a little food for thought there. And then bringing it back to North America, some of the earliest tattoos that they found were tattoos women would get on their necks to show their marital status so that nobody could mistake them for married or single. And then the first tattoo shop in the United States was actually in New York in 1846, where Samuel O'Reilly invented the electric machine for doing tattoos actually in 1891. Today, there's a lot of stereotypes about people wearing tattoos, and this dates back. In earlier times, people in prison and sailors were often the people getting tattoos. Prisoners would get things like spider webs or teardrops tattooed on their bodies to show how many people they killed. And they would also get things like gang symbols, and they would do marks for how many years they had or different sins that they had committed. They would get tattooed on their body. Today, actually, Brian Johnston came up with 5 main reasons why he thinks that people get tattoos today. And it's loved ones, religious symbols, military service, mistakes, and just for fun. Not all tattoos fall into these categories, but that's the main reasons why people get tattoos today. Loved ones, everybody's seen people getting symbols and crosses for people that have passed away as just a way to remember them. Same with religious symbols in military service. It's thought that once people become part of the military, it's such a big impact on their life that they get tattoos to represent that portion of their life. And then you hear a lot of people whose thoughts change about their tattoos, and they like to refer to them as mistakes. And then you have the ones that are just for fun, who find it a way to express their art in body form. They get tattoos done. So as I was talking, for those of you who noticed, I do actually have a tattoo, and that is why I chose the topic today. When people see my tattoo, the most common response that I get is that I would expect you to be the last person I would see with a tattoo, and they're even more surprised when I tell them I have 3 tattoos. So the main purpose for today was to show you that just because somebody has a tattoo doesn't mean that they're a criminal or that they're a sailor, because I am neither. And it's just a way for people to express themselves through art on their body. All right, there's one. And the other 2.
Can't remember if we were supposed to clap or what.